We need to coordinate the air support with the ground troops' advance.
The timing is critical. We can't afford any miscommunication.
We have received intelligence that the enemy is planning a major offensive in the Ardennes region.
Our forces are stretched thin, but we must hold the line.
It's October 1943. High above Germany, the sky belongs to the Luftwaffe, the German Air Force. American B-17 bombers roar through the clouds in tight groups, flying so close their wingtips almost touch. Inside each bomber, young men sit shivering in the freezing cold, fully aware that 1 out of every 4 will never make it home. Far below, German fighter pilots wait in their Messerschmitts and Focke-Wulfs. They're confident, skilled, and winning. For the Americans, the math is cruel. Their bombers don't have fighter planes that can follow them all the way to the target and back. P-47 Thunderbolts can't fly far enough. Spitfires have to turn around at the Dutch border. Once past that line, the bombers are completely alone. And the Germans know it. They circle in the distance, smoking cigarettes, watching the sky, waiting for the moment the American bombers cross into their trap. Then they strike. Their 20mm cannons tear through the bombers' thin metal bodies like they're made of paper. Day after day, the losses grow worse. It feels hopeless. But then, something changes, something the Germans could never have imagined. It isn't a new bomb. It isn't a faster airplane. It's a radio frequency, a small, almost invisible breakthrough that changes everything. Suddenly, American fighters can talk to their bombers and stay with them all the way to Berlin and back. This single innovation connects thousands of planes across enemy skies, turning confusion into teamwork and fear into power. The Germans once believed American bombers would never reach Berlin alive. But then, a simple radio signal proved them wrong. August 17, 1943. It's called Mission 84. The target, the Schweinfurt ball-bearing factories, deep inside Germany, hundreds of miles from safety. At sunrise, 376 American B-17 bombers take off from England and head toward their target. The planes are packed with bombs, and the young men inside are filled with fear. During the morning briefing, the commanders had warned them, "You will face heavy resistance." No one realizes just how heavy it will be. As they cross Belgium, the P-47 fighter planes that protect them run out of fuel and turn back. The bomber crews watch their escorts disappear and know what that means. They're now completely alone. Some whisper quick prayers through their oxygen masks. German radar operators pick them up almost instantly. Orders go out. Dozens of Luftwaffe squadrons scramble from airfields across Germany. More than 300 fighter planes take to the sky, climbing fast. The bombers don't see them until it's too late. Bright tracer bullets streak past the windows. Then come the Messerschmitts, attacking head-on at deadly speed. The sky turns into chaos, explosions, smoke, and falling metal. B-17s burst apart in midair, wings snapping, flames pouring out. White parachutes bloom against the blue sky, but many never open. Inside the bombers, the scene is pure panic. Gunners shout through radios full of static. 2 o'clock high, 4 o'clock level. They're everywhere. But the radio systems are a mess. Signals overlap, orders clash, and no one can hear clearly. Each bomber flies alone, trying to survive. When the American fighters finally return to cover the retreat, they can't even find the bomber formations through the radio confusion. By the time the broken survivors make it back to England, the damage is unthinkable. 60 bombers destroyed, 600 men dead or captured, 100 more planes too damaged to ever fly again. Washington is stunned. At this rate, the entire 8th Air Force will be gone before Christmas. In Germany, the fighter pilots land laughing. They're sure they've won. The Americans can't keep this up, they say. They'll stop coming. One German ace writes in his diary that night, "They are brave, these Americans. But bravery alone does not win wars in the sky." He's right, for now. What he doesn't know is that, in a quiet workshop outside London, engineers are building something new. Something small. Something that will soon change the war in the air forever. Inside the 8th Air Force headquarters at High Wycombe, England, everything feels tense. Maps with red lines showing bomber paths cover the walls. Desks are piled high with casualty reports. Commanders argue late into the night. Cigarette smoke hangs heavy in the room. The problem isn't bravery or guns. It's talking, or, more exactly, the terrible lack of it. Their radios are a mess. Bombers talk on one channel, fighters on another, and ground control on a third. When everyone tries to speak, the signals clash and turn into a roar of static. Fighters can't hear bombers calling for help. Bombers can't tell fighters where the danger is. It's as if everyone is shouting, but no one can listen. Lieutenant Colonel Thomas J. Hitchcock knows this pain better than most. He used to fly with the RAF and has been in combat. He's heard radios die at the worst possible moment, just when enemy fighters appear. He knows men are being killed because of bad frequencies. Hitchcock pulls together a secret team. Radio engineers from the Signal Corps, communications experts from Bell Labs, and a few fighter pilots who understand electronics. They work quietly because if the Germans learn what they're doing, they'll try to stop it. Their job sounds simple and savage at the same time. Build a radio system that lets fighters and bombers talk clearly over hundreds of miles, through bad weather, anti-aircraft fire, and electronic noise, and make sure the Germans can't listen in. The radios they have now won't do it. Fighter radios have little range and poor sound. Bomber radios use different frequencies entirely. Trying to force them together just makes more confusion. So they try a different idea. Don't force them to talk across gaps. Put everyone on the same frequency from the start. They pick VHF, very high frequency, around 100 to 150 megahertz. The radios use precise crystals so they don't drift off frequency. They must be strong enough to reach far and work on every kind of plane. They call it the SCR 522 VHF radio. On paper it looks amazing, but on the ground it must survive things that would break ordinary gear. Minus 40 degrees up high, violent turns in combat, and electrical noise from every machine on the airplane. And it has to work perfectly, because one lost message can mean someone dies. Engineers test radios in wind tunnels and freezing rooms. Pilots fly P-47s fitted with experimental sets and push them hard to see what breaks. They test signal strength, clarity, and range. The results surprise everyone. The radios are clear at more than 200 miles. Many planes can use the same frequency without muddling each other. Bombers and fighters can talk and coordinate instantly. By late 1943, factories begin making hundreds of SCR 522 units. Mechanics work day and night to install them in both fighters and bombers. At first, pilots are doubtful. They've seen miracle tech fail before. But Hitchcock and his team understand what the radios really do. They don't just make voices louder. They stitch every American plane into one team in the sky. What started as a small, technical fix becomes the tool that lets thousands of aircraft fly together and stay alive. December 1943. It's the first real test. 20 B-17 bombers lift off from their base in East Anglia, their engines roaring into the cold morning air. Flying beside them are 16 P-47 Thunderbolts, each fitted with the brand-new SCR 522 radio system. Inside the cockpits, pilots flick switches and tune their frequencies. For a moment, there's the usual hiss of static, and then suddenly, voices come through, clear and crisp. Warhawk leader to Big Friend formation. We have you visual, 10 o'clock high. Roger, Warhawk leader. Good to hear you. The bomber pilot smiles in disbelief. He's never heard a fighter so clearly before. It feels like a guardian angel speaking right into his headset. For the first time, invisible radio waves connect every plane in the sky, bombers and fighters, flying miles above the clouds at incredible speeds. As the formation crosses the North Sea, the radios hold steady. No static, no drops, just perfect communication. Down below, German radar operators spot the incoming force, but something feels different today. The Americans are moving more smoothly, tighter formations, quicker responses. When the Luftwaffe fighters close in, the escorts are already there to meet them. Bandits, 2 o'clock high for 1,000 feet. Before the bomber crews can even look up, the P-47s are turning into position, engines screaming, guns ready. They intercept the Germans before they can even reach the bombers. Frustrated, the enemy pilots peel away. Back at High Wycombe headquarters, commanders gather around the mission report. The results are almost unbelievable. Not a single bomber lost. Communication flawless from start to finish, and teamwork sharper than ever before. The SCR 522 radio has done its job. It's proven itself. But there's still one problem: range. The P-47s can't follow the bombers deep into Germany. They still have to turn back, leaving the bombers alone for the hardest part of the mission. America now needs a new kind of fighter, one that can fly all the way to Berlin and back. And in December 1943, that fighter finally arrives in England. It's sleek, it's fast, and it's breathtaking, the kind of beauty only a perfect machine can have. The P-51 Mustang. When American pilots see it for the first time, they feel it deep in their chests. This isn't just another airplane. This is a hunter built for the skies. The Mustang carries a British Rolls-Royce Merlin engine, giving it incredible speed and agility. But what truly changes everything is its range. With extra fuel tanks attached under its wings, it can fly more than 800 miles, far enough to escort bombers all the way to Berlin and back. Then comes the real breakthrough. Engineers install the SCR 522 radio system inside the Mustang. Now, the Mustangs aren't just flying beside the bombers. They're talking to them, sharing the same radio network, the same voice, the same heartbeat in the sky. Fighter pilots are quickly trained on the new radios. They learn how to switch frequencies, send coded messages, and handle emergencies. The radio becomes as vital as their guns or oxygen masks. By February 1944, the famous 4th Fighter Group switches entirely to P-51 Mustangs. Skilled pilots like Don Gentile and John Godfrey climb into these new machines, and suddenly, they have the perfect partner for their talent. And together, they have something the Germans never expected: flawless coordination. The Luftwaffe notices almost immediately. Their intelligence officers read combat reports with disbelief. The Americans are moving differently now: smoother, faster, more unified. Escorts react to danger before it even happens. Bombers change direction in perfect sync. Even Erich Hartmann, Germany's top ace, later admits in his memoirs, they were no longer flying like individuals. They moved like one living thing. You couldn't separate them. You couldn't surprise them. German radar stations report strange new patterns. Bomber groups that seem vulnerable suddenly call in escorts from miles away, almost as if they can read the future. Attacks that should have succeeded are stopped cold by fighters that somehow knew exactly where to be. The Germans guess it must be new radar technology. They're wrong. It's voices, clear as day, racing through the air at the speed of light, linking every Mustang to every bomber across enemy skies. For the first time, the Americans aren't flying as separate planes. They're flying as one. February 20th, 1944. They call it Operation Argument. The people who flew it called it Big Week. For the Germans, it would feel like the start of the end. The plan was plain: smash the German fighter industry, bomb the factories, destroy the assembly lines, hit them so hard they could not build planes again. Imagine the sky full of planes, 3,000 American bombers, and more than 900 fighters, the biggest coordinated air attack anyone had ever seen. And for the first time, every plane was linked by the new SCR 522 radios. At dawn, fleets of B-17s and B-24s lifted off from many airfields in England. White contrails streaked the blue. Above them, P-51 Mustangs and P-47 Thunderbolts waited, ready to escort. The radio was alive. Ground control talked to flight leaders. Flight leaders talked to squadrons. Squadrons talked to each pilot. The talk was calm, clear, and exact. Big friend formation, Charlie. You have Warhawk escort at Angels 2-5. You're 6 o'clock high. Roger, Warhawk. Visual contact. Maintain heading 270. We'll take you all the way. Those last words, we'll take you all the way, changed everything. No more being left alone deep in Germany. No more watching escorts turn back. No more hoping the Messerschmitts wouldn't find you. When the formations crossed into German skies, the Luftwaffe scrambled hundreds of fighters. They fought hard. This was their home, their factories, their families. But they ran into something new. A warning call rang out. Bandits, 11 o'clock level, 20 plus. Mustangs on the far side heard it and were already turning. They met the attackers before the bombers could be reached. I got 2 braking right. Roger, I'm on the leader. Watch your 6, Johnny. Clear. It worked like clockwork. One group fought while another slid into place to protect the bombers. When pilots ran low on ammo or fuel, they called it in and replacements came straight away. The Germans had never seen such teamwork. One commander radioed in panic. They are everywhere. The moment we commit, more appear. How many fighters do they have? The short, terrible answer, enough. For 6 days the attacks went on. Factories in Regensburg, plants in Leipzig, the ball-bearing works in Schweinfurt, payback for the losses months before. The radios never failed. Bombers timed their approaches. Fighter groups handed off escort duties without missing a beat. Sometimes bomber crews didn't even notice the switch. German controllers listened and could not believe it. The Americans had turned communication into a weapon. One report said, "They have air superiority through better communications. Our pilots feel outnumbered even when they are not." When Big Week ended on February 25th, the damage was huge. About 600 German planes destroyed, in the air and on the ground. Fighter production was cut roughly in half. The Luftwaffe lost pilots, fuel, and factories it could not replace. American losses were heavy, too. 226 bombers and 28 fighters. But the strikes hit their targets and helped break the German Air Force. Through all the noise and danger, the radios kept people connected. Calm voices guided crews. Simple orders cut through confusion. Stay tight, boys. We're going home together. Spring 1944. The war in the air has completely changed. Now, American bombers fly deep into Germany almost without fear. P-51 Mustangs escort them all the way to Berlin, Munich, Vienna, anywhere the mission planners decide. The new radio network has turned what once felt like a desperate gamble into a perfectly organized system. The Luftwaffe, once unbeatable, is slowly dying. Not in one big battle, but little by little, losing pilots, losing fuel, losing hope. German factories are still building planes, even more than before. But those planes just sit on the ground. No fuel to fly them, and no trained pilots left. Most new pilots are barely adults, some with only 30 hours of flight training, sent into the sky against American veterans who've survived hundreds of missions. It's no longer a fair fight. German commanders know it. They give desperate orders. Ram the bombers. Ignore the escorts. Keep attacking. But nothing works anymore. The Americans own the air, and more importantly, they own the frequencies. March 6, 1944. The first big daylight attack on Berlin begins. 660 bombers, protected by 800 fighters, fill the sky in a line stretching 50 miles long. German defenses throw everything they have at them. Explosions fill the air. Anti-aircraft fire bursts into black clouds of shrapnel. German fighters dive in head-on, knowing it's almost suicide. The sky over Berlin burns. But the American formations hold tight. Big friend lead. You have Mustangs at your 9 o'clock high. Roger, Mustang leader, we see you. Beautiful day for Berlin, isn't it? It's a dark joke. But the bomber crew laughs. Not because it's funny, but because they can hear their escorts' calm voices. They're not alone anymore. Every pilot can talk to every other pilot. Every order is clear. Every move is coordinated. That day, 69 bombers are lost. A terrible number. But the message to Germany is unmistakable. Nowhere is safe. From his office window, Albert Speer, Hitler's armaments minister, watches the raid. Years later, he will write just one quiet line in his memoirs. That day, I knew we had lost the air war. The Luftwaffe keeps fighting through the summer, and a few German pilots still score victories. But the outcome is already written. By D-Day, June 6, 1944, the Allies completely control the skies over France. German fighters rarely appear, and when they do, they're instantly surrounded by American squadrons guided by flawless radio coordination. The invasion of Normandy succeeds partly because of what doesn't happen. The Luftwaffe can no longer interfere. The once feared German Air Force is now powerless. All because the Americans could talk to each other. One last image says it all. September 1944. An Allied reconnaissance plane flies over a German airfield. In the photos, rows of brand-new Messerschmitts sit quietly on the ground. No pilots, no fuel, no future. Even the camera plane is equipped with an SCR-522 radio, connected to the same network that once united thousands of aircraft across Europe. The Germans didn't lose the sky in one single battle. They lost it to one simple idea: the power of communication. May 1945. The war is finally over. Germany surrenders. The bombing stops. The P-51 Mustangs, once kings of the sky, now sit quietly on airfields. Their powerful engines, silent for the first time in years. In the years that follow, historians argue about what truly won the air war. Some say it was mass production, the sheer number of planes America built. Others say it was better training or the superior design of the aircraft. Some point to strategic bombing plans. They're all right in part, but there's one thing that tied it all together: communication. The SCR-522 radio system, a small, often forgotten piece of technology, quietly connected more than 20,000 American aircraft during 3 long years of war. It turned hundreds of separate pilots into one united force. It transformed the chaos of battle into something organized, almost musical. After the war, captured German officers admitted this with reluctant respect. One Luftwaffe general said, "We had brave pilots. We had fast aircraft. At first, we even had better tactics. But we could never match how the Americans worked together. Every American pilot was part of a team. We were alone. And that, in the end, was the difference. Technology alone doesn't win wars, not unless it serves people." The radio wasn't just a box that sent signals. It carried connection, trust, and reassurance. It reminded every pilot that even in the darkest sky, someone was out there with him. Imagine a pilot in his Mustang or B-17 bomber. Flak explodes around him. German fighters dive from above. The engine sputters, and oil sprays across the windshield. Fear grips him, but then he presses the radio button. This is Warhawk leader. "We've got you. Stay on course." A calm, steady voice crackles through the noise. Clear as day, strong as steel. That voice, that connection, was everything. The men who survived never forgot it. For decades, they heard that voice in their dreams, sometimes comforting, sometimes haunting, but always reminding them that they were never truly alone. The radio link that let P-51 Mustangs escort bombers all the way to Berlin wasn't just a piece of equipment. It was a lifeline, a symbol of how human courage and smart innovation can work together. From that moment on, every American pilot who flew toward danger carried one unshakable truth in his heart. He was never alone again. The skies fell silent, but the echoes remained. Not of engines or guns, but of voices. Clear, steady, unbreakable. A reminder that victory isn't just built on power or machines, but on connection and the courage to answer when someone calls. We've got you. Stay on course.